It starts on Friday.
Yeah.
This issue with fentanyl, it's a problem on so many levels, and you and I were chatting about it the other day, and I know you've been working in this area, and one of the big challenges with this is people are overdosing on fentanyl, and they don't even realize they're taking fentanyl, right?
Yeah, there's probably the vast majority of overdose deaths have been on illegal, illicit fentanyl. So people who are making fentanyl in their basement and selling it on the streets, often as something else. Or they're using fentanyl powder to cut other drugs. So they're adding it to cocaine or adding it to heroin or a number of other drugs to make it more potent. But the people who are mixing it aren't pharmacological geniuses.
Yeah.
Right? They're drug dealers and drug manufacturers in their basement.
And not all of them are the guy from Breaking Bad.
And
right?
and not all of them care at all about what anybody gets. And, even there was a lady I spoke to from Saskatoon whose 19-year-old son died of an overdose. We had her as a witness in a Senate hearing, in fact, and he received the fentanyl tablet from his 22-year-old brother. Cut it in half, crushed one half and snorted it and was fine, a little bit high. A few hours later, crushed the other half and snorted it, but it was 5 or 6 times more potent and it killed him. So the challenge you have with fentanyl is, one is even people who are getting it don't really know what the mixture is. Secondly, people who are taking fentanyl and think they're taking oxycodone, because a number of them are making the pills with the oxycodone look-alike, same color, with the same brand on it, and using an oxycodone pill press to make it. So they think they're taking oxycodone, which they may have taken in the past. They know what's going to happen. They know how many they can take, not realizing fentanyl is between 10 and 100 times more potent than oxycodone.
Yeah.
So it has so many layers of challenges. The challenge we focused on this spring was, since 2006, it's been illegal to possess the precursors. So the chemicals that are used to make fentanyl, it's been illegal to possess them in the United States. In Canada, it's not illegal. And in fact, when we were going through the hearings and when I introduced my bill in the spring, I actually went online with a China website and I ordered all the precursors. I didn't complete the order with my Visa card, but if I had, within 14 days, I would have had all the precursors at my home legally with a Canadian Border Services document pre-completed saying how much tax I had to pay. So It wasn't illegal. And in fact, even when our bill passed in June, it still hadn't passed the House because the House rose before we did. So as a result, the minister came out a few weeks ago and announced that they would gazette them immediately rather than waiting until it passed the one right behind it called W18 that has killed a number of people in the last few months as well. That we now need to get it to work on those ingredients to make those illegal as well.
So basically restrict access to the chemicals that are used to make fentanyl, and that's how you reduce the flow of it in the system.
It worked with
one of the ways.
You may remember a few years ago it worked with bath salts when we did it. It worked about 8 or 9 years ago when we did it with crystal methamphetamine. You couldn't buy ephedrine, pseudoephedrine, a number of other chemicals because we listed them and we were able to reduce the amount of crystal meth available. So what it does is it takes away the legitimate sale of those ingredients, or illegitimate sale of those ingredients that is occurring where drug manufacturers illegally are making fentanyl and other drugs.
All right. And where does this stand right now? This is something that the Senate has been studying.
So we passed it in the Senate unanimously in June. It was scheduled to go to the House, but the minister stepped in. They have the authority, which they've always had, to gazette those ingredients immediately themselves. So they've done that. They did that a week and a half ago, so that's done. So now we need to look at some other things. Pill presses, we have to look at the legitimate use of pill presses. Secondly are the ingredients for W18, W15, and some of the other drugs that are following behind fentanyl that will come next, right? I mean, it's not, you'll never win this war, but it's one we got to continue fighting, is what I continue to say. So now we need to focus some energy on the other chemicals that are out there making other drugs.
You are a conservative senator, of course, although you were never involved in politics until you became a senator. But we now know that Peter MacKay's not running for the leadership.
Yeah.
What do you think about who the next leader ought to be? Are you going to get involved in any way in this race?
Well, I don't know if I'll get involved. I don't know how involved I'll get. I mean, I'm disappointed that Peter MacKay's not running. I think he brought a different type of conservative, probably more to the type of conservative I am, to be fair, a fiscal conservative and probably socially on the liberal side, if I look at it that way.
You just like him because he's from Nova Scotia.
Well, that helps. Well, if he's from Cape Breton, I'd love him.
Yeah, that would be even better.
There's
Nova Scotia and then there's Cape Breton, right?
the next province. But yeah, I'm disappointed he's not running. I thought he would have been very good for the campaign. I understand why he's not. I mean, I understand why he's saying publicly he's not, and I think even privately, you know, I'm sure that he would be sitting there and saying, does he want to sit in opposition until 2019? And what are the chances on winning? I'm sure whoever wins. The number of people running right now is interesting. A number of them are not interesting in many ways. Some of the people running, I will be really disappointed if the Conservative Party looks to Kevin O'Leary. I don't personally think he has what the party brings, and I've heard him talk about the Senate, that he would sell the seats as an example. I mean, that won't be a problem. Like, seriously, have you not read the Constitution? Like, so I have some problems with people like Kevin O'Leary who want to jump in because it's glossy, not because he really wants to make a difference from my perspective.
Right. What about this Kelly Leach proposal about screening for Canadian values or anti-Canadian values? Well,
first of all, we do a ton of screening already for people who come to this country, and I think the screening we do should be focused on security and safety and ensuring the safety of those people coming and Canadians overall. I mean, what is a Canadian value? I mean, I know, you know, what I value, what you value, and what other people's values are based on our culture, our history, our parents. How do you measure that? You know, if I were to interview somebody about their values, I would suggest would be very different than most Canadians who would interview about values. I'm challenged by the comments, and I do think it smacks, as Ron Ambrose has said, I think it does smack of a bit of hypervigilant discussion around safety and security. If you want to make it about safety and security, I'm all there, but don't start talking about the value piece. I think we all have values, and I'm not sure that we could actually put Canadian values in a box and figure out what they look like if you shook it.
Great to see you.
You too.
Thank you very much for coming by. Appreciate it.
Thank
and that's great work that the Senate has done on the issue of fentanyl, and it shows not just the value of the Senate, but the value of moving quickly on some things. Right. That's what happened here, and obviously the government listened. Right.
Yeah. Well,
so
thanks,
that's a good
Mark.
thing.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Senator Vern White.